You've been holding on to something that's been dead for a while. A relationship that's flatlined, or a business idea that stopped breathing months ago. A dream that maybe once lit you up, but now just weighs you down. And yet you keep feeding it. You keep hoping that maybe, with one more push, with one more sacrifice, one more try, it will come back to life. But what if the real strength isn't in holding on? It's in letting go. By the end of this episode, you'll see why sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to stop riding the dead horse. The dead horse theory comes from an old saying. When you discover you're riding a dead horse, the best strategy is to dismount. But that's not what most people do. We double down, we get a stronger whip, we change riders, we add a new saddle, and we start motivational meetings about how to make the horse run again. And still it doesn't move, because it's dead. Yet we stay because letting go feels like losing. You should never hold on to a boiling kettle just because of how long it took you to boil. Sometimes it's about getting rid of the kettle, even though it took you a lot of investment. Because imagine this for a moment. You're holding a rope. On the other end is something you desperately want. Your old relationship, your first business, that career you've built your identity around. But the rope is burning. Every second you hold on, your hands start blistering. You're in pain and still you tell yourself, maybe it will stop burning if I just hold a little longer. Now here's the paradox. The moment you let go, the pain stops. Not because the rope stopped burning, but because you stopped holding on. Letting go doesn't always mean failure. Sometimes it means freedom. When you close one door, another one opens, as they say. So let's talk business for a second. I've seen entrepreneurs cling to projects that are bleeding money. They pour more effort in, more hours, more hope, because they've already invested too much to quit, they feel. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. The belief that because you've invested so much, you must continue. But here's the truth. You can't recover a sunk cost. You can only lose more. You've got to know when to quit, as they say. The real winners are those that know when to walk away. They look at the data, the energy, the joy, and if it's gone, they don't fight to the death. They build something new from the ashes. Because success isn't about how long you can endure something that isn't working. It's about how quickly you can recognise when to pivot. Now think of this in other ways. The relationships we mentioned that drain their energy just because they've been together for years. They tell themselves, we've been through so much. We've already come this far. I can't just walk away now. But if being with someone consistently makes you feel unseen, unappreciated, small, etc., maybe that's just attachment. And attachment isn't growth, it's fear of emptiness. But sometimes that space that follows letting go is where the real healing begins. Think of your life as a garden, as we've talked about before. Every goal, project and relationship is a plant. Some grow beautifully, some wither, no matter how much you water them. If you keep feeding the dead plants, they don't come back. They just steal nutrients from living ones. When you pull them out, you make space. Space for sunlight, space for new growth, space to ensure that the current or better plants don't strangle. And that's the essence of the dead horse theory. To make room for what's meant to live, you have to bury what's already dead. So why do we struggle to let go? Because the brain hates uncertainty more than pain. Even if a situation is miserable, at least it's known. Letting go means stepping into the unknown, and your subconscious fears that void. But growth can't exist without uncertainty. Every breakthrough in your life will first feel like loss. You have to mourn who you were before you meet who you're becoming. So here's a challenge for you. Take a moment tonight and write down everything in your life that's been weighing you down. Or think about it. You don't have to write it. Not what's hard, but what's dead. things you're forcing, things you're tolerating, things that drain you more than they give. Ask yourself then, is it truly growing, or am I keeping it on life support? Am I nurturing something living or preserving something dead? What's the emotional payoff if I get from holding on? Is it worth it? Because when you answer honestly, you'll start to see things that have quietly expired and the parts of you that are ready to breathe again. You've been here before. You've tried to revive that friendship, that business. You've kept chasing that deal that never clicked. You've kept rewriting that same story, hoping that this time it would be a different ending. But deep down you knew. You felt it in your gut. The energy wasn't there anymore. The spark was gone. The life had already left. And still you keep showing up. Out of habit, out of hope, out of fear of being empty-handed. But there's a fine line between persistence and carrying on the same thing, making sure that at some point it will work, and other times it's a dead horse and you need to know when to let it go. And you're not empty when you let go. You're just clearing space for something true. The universe can't feel hands that are already clutching dead weight. In nature, a snake sheds its skin. If it doesn't, the old skin actually suffocates it, slowly, silently. Shedding looks painful, vulnerable, but it's the only way it can continue to grow. And maybe you're right. Your next stage of evolution is waiting for you to shed. Here's what the dead horse theory teaches us. Effort isn't always virtue. Sometimes effort is denial. Knowing when to quit is important, or is as important as knowing when to persist. Attachment blinds judgment. When emotion is high, logic disappears. Freedom requires grief. You have to mourn the old to welcome the new. Letting go is an act of leadership over yourself. So imagine this, you stop riding the dead horse. You step off, brush off the dust from your clothes and start walking. It feels quiet at first. It feels uncertain. You wonder if you made a mistake, but then you start to notice something. The sun begins to feel warmer, the air lighter. You realise you were never meant to carry that thing so far. It was meant to teach you something, not define you forever. And as you walk forward, you find a new horse, alive, strong, full of energy. That's what happened when you stop forcing what's finished and making space for what's new and alive. So if something in your life feels heavy, lifeless, forced, ask yourself, am I riding a dead horse? And if you are, it's time to dismount, because the moment you stop clinging to what's over, you finally free your hands to reach for what's next.